A big hello and a very warm welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow Season 8 with me, Sonali Krishna. Today I have a very interesting panel that's going to be discussing the wedding industry. As all sectors, the wedding industry has also been deeply impacted thanks to COVID-19. In fact, most couples who are looking to get married, March onwards, I would say latter half of March until now, have just been left without a plan of action. The wedding industry has been as agile as many others to pivot and bring up solutions, and my panelists today are representatives of those companies. I'm very pleased to introduce you to my panel today. It's Sandeep Lodha, CEO of Oyo's Weddings.in, Geeta Raj Ravtani, founder myevents.co.in, Ankur Sarawagi, India country head, the Not Worldwide. Thank you so much, lady and gentlemen. Okay, let me start with you, Ankur. I believe the Not Worldwide has done a research the last few months and the impact it's had on marriages and the weddings that were going to take place in April, May and possibly even June. Give me a sense of what that survey really entailed.
It's really difficult for couples to figure out what is happening. And what we did, as a part of our global initiative, conducted a survey for Indian couples. So the biggest insight is people who were supposed to get married during the lockdown window, 80% chose to postpone their weddings to the later half of the year over cancellation. So October, November, December, which is anyway the peak season for weddings in India, would see even higher demand this year. 75% don't plan to reduce their guest size, when we conducted the interviews. But we will see, they might segregate the list. They might invite specific people for specific celebrations. 2/3 of couples are planning to do a big celebration post the lockdown is over. So wedding industry follows this auspicious date thing. We call it Saya dates. A lot of people might actually go ahead and do weddings on non-Saya dates. It's mostly a celebration. 90% have confirmed that they will not reduce the budgets, and they might just allocate it to different buckets of spend. So from some catering spend might go to decor, and photography spend might go to some gifting. So those are the things that we are hearing.
That's interesting. I find it very interesting that people still want to do big celebrations, want a decent number of people attending their marriage, and you're even expecting a big spike in October, November, December. So that's quite heartening. Looking like people still are looking to normalize their lives going forward. Let me get Sandeep in. Sandeep, you're on the same page on that, or do you think the fear psychosis in the wedding industry will kind of dampen the wedding industry spirits in terms of physical weddings?
So, Sonali, as you know that we run 1,000+ banquets across the country, right? And what we have done is we have talked to hundreds and thousands of customers come to us every day looking for a banquet, right? And let me tell you what we are seeing from them. It is similar, the sentiment is similar to what Ankur said. Currently all the weddings are getting cancelled or postponed to later, right? So from March 20th to now, very limited number of events have happened. We all know that, right? So the revenues for the banquet owners have dropped to zero. We are aware of that. But like Ankur said, that's what we are seeing right now as well. 80% of events that were supposed to happen between March and June, and 80% of those customers have rescheduled to a winter wedding already, right? That's one. Second is the new customers which are coming in looking for a winter wedding. The guest list for that is actually not dropped significantly. So, average guest list for a wedding plus reception used to be around 400, Sonali, year before or time before this, right? And the current guest list that people are asking for is, around 10 to 15% lower than that. So not significantly fallen from what we have seen in the past few years, right? So what we are seeing is, people are quite bullish. The consumers are quite bullish about the winter wedding, and a lot of rescheduling is happening for the summer wedding. So that we are seeing that as well.
I see. Geeta, let me bring you in and talk about people who are dying to get married and don't want to postpone and want to, get it done right here, right now. What are those couples doing? And I believe that virtual weddings are now becoming a thing. Is that true?
It is definitely true. A lot of couples do not want to give away their Muhurat dates. Like Ankur and Sandeep just said, that it's very, very important for every Indian couples to get married on a Muhurat date. Of course, some follow it, some don't follow it religiously. So people who want to get married on their Muhurat date, are still getting married with very limited family members and going virtual, showing it to their complete family and friends. Okay. At the same time, they're also saying the celebrations will continue once the lockdown eases. Today it is 50 people, it may grow to 100 people and then 200 people. So definitely the hotels, the venues are getting booked for the last quarter of this year. Like November, December, all dates have been sold out at all the venues. But there are couples who are getting married now, enjoying the moment now, and maybe looking at a celebration a little later.
That's great. So I'm really curious to know how a virtual wedding works. Ankur, you want to take that in terms of what is a virtual wedding? How does one do it? What is the protocol followed for safety precautions and all of that?
So I think what is happening, like people who are planning to get married right now, they have like 2 or 3 options. So the first option, which, is popularly right now called like Zoom wedding, where like all the guests are invited online. The second option that people do have is which is called weddings at home. They do a small gathering, and the third one is to do like a 50 people gathering at a local banquet. So virtual wedding is basically using a lot of digital technology, across these 3 options that couples have, and inviting so that people can view the wedding ceremony. Again, this is a trend. This is going to continue for the short term. However, we believe as soon as there is some relaxation on lockdown, people will go back.
I see. Sandeep, what has been your experience in the last few months in terms of conducting these so-called Zoom weddings? How has it been? What do the bride and groom do? How long, according to you, will this continue? Plus, how much cheaper is it to have a virtual wedding as opposed to the big fat Indian wedding? How much are we saving?
I echo the sentiments of people on the panel. One is, there are some people who are not able to postpone the wedding, and they are doing these smaller gatherings, 20, 30 people. We have 2 kinds of such groups. One who do it at their house, and we support them with all the catering and photography and makeup. And there are people who take a banquet hall and they're doing it. And again, we are supporting them with with food and all that stuff, right? So both options are there, but they are also asking for live streaming the wedding as well, right? For give you an example, in the last 3 months, we had approximately scheduled to execute 4,000 events, right? 4,000 events that we had booked. Wedding.in had booked to execute between March and June, right? We must have only executed around 10 plus these small virtual weddings or small weddings, right? So while all of us are talking about it, the scale of these events are very far and few. So only very handful of families or couples who are not able to postpone for whatever reason are going ahead with these smaller settings. But we are fully supporting them, whether they are doing it at home or at one of our banquets, right? And most of them, like I had said earlier, 80% of them are pushing it out. But at these events, if they're doing it, we have this program, Sonali, called Weddings Safe Weddings. So this Wedding Safe, all our venues are certified to execute wedding safe weddings, right? Which is all the guests have to have a mask, sanitizer stations, how the buffet is set up, how the table is set up, safe distancing. You can't go and hug bride and groom. At the stage setup is set up in a way where people just can't go and hug bride and grooms, right? So we have, a temperature check for guests. So we have these 12-point checklist, and we are certifying all our venues to be wedding safe. And so all the events that we are executing, Sonali, are happening under this wedding safe program.
Geeta, I've heard all your preliminary thoughts. Give me your sense as somebody who's seen this industry. What is your bet for the future of weddings? Do you see that, these safe spaces, just like Sandeep just explained to us, will continue with small numbers and everybody very distant will continue? Or you think the big Indian fat wedding will make a comeback? What's your sense?
We all hope and pray that the big fat Indian wedding comes back. But looking at the current scenario, the near future doesn't look very positive. We are all concerned about the health of our loved ones, Even if we open up to weddings which is more than 50 to 100 to a 200, and we ourselves are doing like 35-point checklist for people to get married at venues, even if it is a small number of gathering at a venue. So even if we are saying there is a safe gathering, still there are a lot of relatives and families and friends who cannot travel, from any part of the world to the wedding, or for the safety of pregnant women or senior members or kids, we cannot bring them to social gatherings, So the next 3 months, 6 months has to be very, very carefully taken. At the same time, like we geared up after 9/11, every venue outside had a scanning bar. We will have enough innovations that will bring in security, sanitization to a level where things will get normal. We are Indians, we innovate with whatever is the necessity, and there will be innovations like left, right, center, and we will be coming back to the normal weddings, but with a lot of safety and security around.
That's great. Ankur, if you could just take that forward with more concrete data in terms of how we are going to see this pan out, or in terms of the safety protocols. If somebody is opting for a physical wedding, what do you look at in terms of the cutoff that will be permissible in terms of invitees? We're also generally, even for socializing, once things ease up, are looking at an inner circle, safe circle. So how will that work out for things like weddings, which have traditionally been big celebrations? And will virtual weddings, that is to the larger number of invitees that usually Indians like to invite, will virtual weddings become a real thing?
So I'll give you a few examples. So for example, like installation of sanitization fans similar to mist fans is something you can see at venues. What you will see in terms of buffet dinner might be replaced by sit down dinners, which is like, not, it happens in the West. It was never happening in India. The other thing is going digital with respect to like, couples will create wedding websites. E-invites will become popular instead of boxed invites. And then even finalizing a venue, for example, a lot of virtual tours and experiences will happen. So you will meet your planner and they will do a show around, say on a WhatsApp call or a Zoom call in terms of showing you the venue. So these will be the things that are going to happen right now. Again, like, the celebrations might be staggered. People might come and attend in shifts because there will definitely be a limit to number of people you can invite. And digital is going to be a big trend, whether it's like streaming your wedding or inviting your guests through RSVP. So those are the things that we expect to see.
I wanted to add, so continuing to what he just said, yes, there will be digital is the new game. We are organizing. So earlier what the trend was, we used to go meet the wedding planner, we used to meet the photographer, we used to meet the makeup artist. Now everything has been brought down virtually. So we are creating meetings with wedding planners, we are deciding on drawings and how the bride's entry will be, and the look of the venue, sitting virtually comfortable from their own house. Why virtual is going to go big? Because people are scared to meet vendors. They are scared to meet every third person. They don't know what kind of social distancing norms they have been following. There is an app which can be installed on people's phones. So when they are at a social gathering, it will beep if you're within 6 feet away from each other. So these kind of little things, sanitization of the venues before and after the event, these are the things that can be bought in, and technology is going to innovate like crazy to get us through this to do a normal wedding. So the objective of all tech here is going to be, how do we do a normal wedding, whether we are wearing PPE suits. Every photographer that is there on the show is going to be wearing a PPE suit, so that the bride, the groom and the guests are very happy to click photographs through them.
Now moving to you, Sandeep, we've discussed how people are actually conducting their wedding and how people are participating in weddings. I really would like to now ask you about the costing of this versus a traditional wedding. So if you can throw some light on what's the difference, and because of that difference, what challenges does it pose to companies such as yours?
Absolutely. This is a very relevant question in the context that we have in, right? So for example, when you take a winter wedding of 400 guests, right? One thing that we are asking people to is to take a larger area, a larger hall, right? So in the past, a hall that could accommodate 400 people, we are not actually booking the same hall for 400 people anymore, right? We are booking the same hall for only 200 because we are putting the tables far apart. There's space between the buffet tables and things like those, right? So we are ensuring the distancing norms in a wedding, right? So that basically brings in that we now have to give a larger hall to everyone out there, right? So the costs that are coming, the incremental costs are coming in from the larger hall. We have to put the sanitizer stations. We have to pre-sanitize every area of the venue before the wedding, right? So customers are asking for it, and we are signing up for that, right? So we are sanitizing the whole venue, pre-sanitizing the whole venue before the event. The bathrooms and the common areas are sanitized multiple times during the event also, Sonali, right? And then we are, we are giving free masks to guests who don't bring in masks, and sanitizers are of course there. Also keep in mind is while we are putting the buffet tables, the tables are far from each other, and also we are allowing for people to eat at the table. So they don't have to go to the buffet if they don't feel like. They can sit on the table and the servers will come and serve the food, right? So there are a lot more servers required, lot more space required, free masks. In the air conditioning vent, there is something called something that are putting to kill germs. So all these are coming into the cost. The cost that is coming right now is around 10 to 15% higher cost is what is coming out at.
And overall, in terms of the impact on business for companies such as yours?
So look, I mean, March to June, we all know, I mean, the impact is very clear, right? We didn't execute events, right? I told you, 95% of our events. The good news is, or I would say the saving grace is 80% of those events have been rescheduled to winter, right? That's one saving grace. And second is the incoming customers that are coming in are still bullish about the winter, right? So I would say all in all, if I look at now we're in bad shape, right? We're all in bad shape. The whole industry is in bad shape. The banquet owners are in bad shape. There is no cash flow. But if you look at the future, sitting right now and looking at the future right now, if the lockdown does not, come back again, right? If the second wave doesn't come back again in the big way, right? When I say really big way, assume that we don't see lockdowns again in July, August, September, October, or whatever, November, December, I think we should be fine overall.
So if I had to look at the entire scenario, with three of you giving me the insights, one would come to the conclusion that yes, it's been a bad phase like most sectors. You all are hoping that if the lockdown is released, then you'll see a resurgence. You're betting on October, November, December as the big spike, but we're also fearful of a second wave. So given all these considerations, I think things look a little bit tight. What would be your biggest worries today as somebody who's in this space, and what's your plan to pivot, Ankur?
So as a business, we are a platform that enables wedding professionals to find couples. So we don't ourselves do the wedding. So for our business right now, the challenge is our partners are not getting any money because they have a cash flow issue. So they're not spending on advertising on us. We don't think that this will continue forever because smaller ceremonies are happening and they still need some business. But during the lockdown time, what we are doing as a company, like the Not Worldwide, we have launched a relationship product which is called the Lasting. This is for married couples, and we are trying to do further investments in other brands that we own.
Well, I think there's no doubt that the road ahead is going to be a tough and arduous one. But having said that, I think weddings will never go out of fashion. And that's the good news for players such as yours. With that, thank you so much for your time. Be safe, be healthy, and here's wishing you wealth and health.